Hey guys, it's Sasha. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be talking about the books that I read in January. So in the month of January, I read 6 books. I read 1 audiobook and 5 physical books. I also DNF'd 1 book because it was shit. I don't need that negativity in my life, so I just gave it a flick. I said, thank you, next. Out of those 6 books, 1 of them was a reread, which I will talk about not too much. I'll talk about it very briefly because you all know my thoughts on this book. So out of those 6 books, 1 was a middle grade, 5 was young adult, 3 of them were contemporaries, and then 3 of them were fantasies. I rated 2 5 stars, 3 4 stars, and 1 3 stars. So no 2 or 1 stars this time around. 1 probably would have been a 2 or 1 star, but I DNF'd it because I don't want to do that to myself. So we'll start off with the book that I DNF'd, and I DNF'd The Wind Singer by William Nicholson. I started reading it and it was a middle grade dystopian, and all of the ratings on Goodreads was like 4 or 5 stars. But they were nostalgia ratings because they were like, I read this in middle school and I loved it so much. And I'm like, no, now that I'm 23, I don't really want to get into that. So I DNF'd this book. This book had a weird grading system. Like they could only be like poor or rich on how smart they were. I think I didn't get too much into it. It was just weird, and I had no idea what was going on. Alright, so the first book I read in January is Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. I did give this book 4 stars. It's probably more like 4.5. I would have loved to give it 5 stars, but it just didn't hit that mark. Like, I don't know what it was missing, but it just wasn't a perfect 5 stars for me. So Nevermore focuses on this girl called Morrigan Crow, who is cursed to die before her 11th birthday. The night before her 11th birthday, she gets whisked off to this place called Nevermore, where the person who whisked her off tells her that if she wants to stay in Nevermore, she has to complete these trials. I really love this book. Jessica Townsend just creates such a wonderful, whimsical world that I would love to visit myself. I see how it can be parallel to Harry Potter. Like, it's nothing like Harry Potter, but I can see why people are calling it like a Harry Potter cross Alice in Wonderland mix, because it definitely is. I really loved Morrigan when she went into Nevermore. She didn't just accept everything was the way it was. She was questioning everything, like what the heck's going on? How's this happening? And I love that in a book. I love how the characters don't go, oh, this is my life now. I loved all the different characters in this book. I especially loved that cat right there. He was awesome. I just love how like they all had this magical power, but it wasn't just the normal ones, and Jessica Townsend did really well, like imagining ones that not even I could have thought of. I really love this book. I'm too keen to get into the next book. I'm just so happy that I finally picked this book up. So the next book I read was Little and Lion. I read this on audiobook. I gave this book 3 stars. Little and Lion focuses on this girl called Suzette. She is a black girl that's just come back from boarding school. She is in a blended family, so her black mother married a white man, and so Suzette's brother is named Lionel, and he is white with like blazing red hair. So Little and Lion is actually nicknames for the 2 characters. So Lion is obviously Lionel's nickname and Little is Suzette's nickname. I really loved that. I love going into books and like trying to figure out how the title of the book came about. This book I did have some, like, it was good, but it just, like, I would not read it again. I would definitely recommend it to people to read because Suzette is bi, but she hasn't come out yet, and then her brother Lionel actually has mental health problems, so they think he has ADHD, but then he might have bipolar disorder. And just go into this book definitely with that in mind. because some of the things he does could be triggering. So going into this book, you think that it's going to be about Little and Lion falling for the same girl, but it's so much more than that. It's about the relationship between the brother and sister, and how Little's coming back trying to deal with her own sexuality and what happened at the boarding school, because things did happen at the boarding school that she wanted to like deal with first. And I love how, so one of the love interests in this book actually has Meniere's disease. I've never heard about this in books, and my mum actually has Meniere's disease, so I just love how that representation was in there too. I'm just loving the whole diversity of this book. I cannot wait to see what else this author is going to bring out. I had a really fun time listening to this book on audiobook. It was on Scribd, so I will leave a link down below to get your own free month of Scribd to trial it out. I'm not associated with Scribd at all. It's just if you touch my link, then I get a free month. 2 if you sign up, and I always love free months on Scribd because I love Scribd so much. So the next book I read was Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. This was a 5-star read for me. I love this book so much. I love the fantasy elements. I loved how it had a little bit of Avatar The Last Airbender elements in there, because the magic system in this book is actually like controlling the elements. Kind of like it's different elements. So when Zealy was growing up, there was magic everywhere. Everyone had magic, but then the new king came in and took all the magic away from them, and Zealy watched her mother die before her eyes, and Zealy's mother was one of the last people that could control death. More like she can control like ghosts, so she can like raise the dead sort of thing. And I cannot wait to see them explore more of their magic powers in the next book. I did not like the love interest. Like, this book does feature insta love so heavily. Like, you think they hate each other, but they fall in love like that. But I love, so there might be a second love interest in the next book, and the pirate guy was just amazing. I love the pirate guy. I cannot remember his name for the life of me. So you got Zealy's POV, you also have Amari's POV, and then you have Amari's brother's POV, and Amari's brother is actually trying to hunt Zealy and Amari in this book. And it was so good, guys. I loved it so much, and I'm just gonna keep rambling, and you don't want that. Children of Blood and Bone also completed the challenge, read a 500-page book, so I will be putting $10 into my TBR jar. The next book I read was The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. This was my reread. I forgot to mention this in my January TBR because my book club was actually reading this for the months of January and February. And I'm so glad that I finally got to get some of my friends to read this book because I love this book so much. The movie actually came out last week here in Australia, so we are going to go see it as a group together, and I'm so excited. So excited to see how the book gets portrayed as a movie, because I hope it does it justice. I really do, because it's such an important book and everyone needs to see it. And plus, my boy KG Appa is in the book, and I cannot wait to see how he does Chris. So I did annotate half this book because I got sick of annotating the other half, so I just read it to enjoy it. I did lend it to one of the other book club members because she didn't have the book, and so I said, hey, have mine, saved you spending money on it, because I understand that. I love Star. I love her dad. I love the relationship between Star and her family. I think that was one of my favorite points rereading this book this time around, is just the family aspects between them all, and how they all like stood up for each other. And even Star's dad, he took in, well, he didn't really take in his son, like his son was already with him, but he was also like, don't talk about your mother like that, because Seven's mother is different to Star's mother, and I just love him so much, and I cannot wait to see him in the movie, and I just can't wait to see the movie, guys, alright? So The Hate You Give was a 5-star read, obviously, and yeah, if you do want me to do a proper review for this book, I will think about it. Just comment down below if you want me to, Because I might. We'll just see how we go. The Hate You Give also completed the challenge, read a book with pink on the cover, so I put $2 into my TBR jar. So the next book I read, I believe everyone was so excited that I was finally reading, is Stranger Dreamer by Laini Taylor. This book is, whoa, like I just forgot how Laini Taylor writes. She's so descriptive and she's so whimsical, and you just get pulled into this world thinking you were there with everyone. But then you kind of just like mumble along with all the descriptiveness. I gave this book 4 stars because I kind of saw that twist like from the start. It wasn't a really big reveal for me. I don't know if that's how Laini Taylor was planning it. Like if she wanted to see, like she wanted to kind of give hints along that he was already something. I don't want to give too much away, but I really do recommend reading this book so much, and I cannot wait to read Muse of Nightmares. Love Sarai. Understand the way she did some things because she didn't grow up with any parents. So obviously she's still like innocent and she just wants to believe the world will be better, even though she knows it's not. Laszlo was a little bit innocent than he should have been, in my opinion. He knew what the world was like, so I believe he should have been a bit more like down to earth, but he wasn't. He was a dreamer and he was a little bit silly. This book also completed the challenge of reading a 2017 release, so I put $5 in my TBR jar for Stranger Dreamer. And the last book I read in January was The Girls by Emma Cline. This book was kind of like a retelling of Charles Manson. Is that what's his name? Well, not a retelling, but it was like a reimagining of how Charles Manson kind of like got his cult together. So this focuses on Evie Boyd, and in the park one day she sees these girls running around and she just wants to be like them, and they kind of like pick her up and take her to meet Russell, who they all like adore. And Russell is like the Charles Manson in this story. It was just like an outsider's view into how everything worked. So I was reading this book when the Ted Bundy movie trailer got released, and I kind of have now like a kickstart into reading up about serial killers and their doodads. I'm really excited to read more about Charles Manson, to be honest. I don't know why. I think this book was just it was very 60s. Like this was in 69. It just really brought you back to the summer of 69 and how everything was back then. Emma Cline did an amazing job with this book, and I'm so glad I read it. I'm glad I finally got to read it because I did get it back in 2016. That's like 3 years ago, guys. I gave The Girls 4 out of 5 stars, and Reading The Girls completed the challenge, read a book set in a country you wanted to visit, and I put $5 in my TBR jar. So the only challenge I did not complete was read a book with a weather element, and that was going to be The Wind Singer, but because I DNF'd that, I did start listening to The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I'm about halfway into it and I'm enjoying it so far. I'm going to be reading it in the next couple weeks because it is a really chunky book. It's 93 chapters, so it's like 28 hours to listen to, and I do listen to my audiobooks on 1.2 speed, so it just cuts it down just a little bit. But I'm loving The Name of the Wind so far, and I cannot wait to tell you more about it in my February wrap up. So I only put $22 into my TBR jar this month, but I've already used $14 of that because I picked up Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. As you saw in my January TBR, I did have the library book, but I had to give that back before I finished it, and I really wanted to just have this proper copy in my hands, and it still have the illustrations that the hardcover at the library did. I'm really excited to get to this one. I'm not sure when I'm going to be getting to it yet though, because I have a lot of other things going on, as you probably saw my February TBR and my Contemporary-a-thon TBR. So I only have $8 in my TBR money pile, but that's okay. I'm hoping to get at least 20 more, probably 25 more this month if I read all the books that I want to. I really want to get Wondersmith because I just want to read the sequel to Nevermore, but I don't really have any other books on my mind that I want to buy. Actually, no, On the Come Up comes out this month, so I really want to buy and read that. but I can't buy it until I read more books. So when you're watching this video, I will most likely be in Melbourne. I have a conference coming up and I'm really excited to just be in an atmosphere with all of the stylists that I'm going to be with, because it is a conference for work. I'm hoping to make it to the Basement bookstore. I was there a couple years ago and I loved it so much and I can't wait to go back there. Hopefully I've read a couple books so I have a bit more money to spend there. So that's it for my January wrap up. Let me know down below what you read in January. I would love to know. If you read any of the books that I did, let me know what you thought of them. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you like to see more. Add me on Goodreads at sashreads and on Bookstagram at sashreads as well. Thank you so much for watching and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye! But I've already spent $14 of that because I picked up Queen of Air and Darkness by Sarah Jane. Okay?